If you're interested in optimizing business performance for results, growth, and impact, stick around. Every business that is getting stuck or doesn't know what the next right step would be, or moving very slow or going through ups and downs, is usually having an issue with understanding where exactly the results are coming from. Strategy is useless if you don't know what you're optimizing for, or if you're optimizing for the wrong thing. And it's impossible to build a good strategy if you don't base it on resources that you already have. So today I want to talk about the 4 types of resources. Once you see what you have, it becomes much easier to build a strategy on how to deploy those resources to get where you want to be. So the first type of resources is physical capital. It's everything that you see on the balance sheet. Most companies ignore their balance sheet, but balance sheet tells you a story. It shows you the accumulation of everything that the company has done up to the point. It's accumulation of efforts minus everything that has been taken out from the business. If you look at your balance sheet, you will see exactly what physical resources you have, what equipment you have, what cash you have sitting in the bank, what receivables you have. That describes your relationship with your customers as well. But that's not everything you have. And most financial leaders stop at that. That's only one type of the resources any company has. The second type, that is an enormous lever that every company has in their possession. And right now, with what is happening in the world, access to this resource is pretty much unlimited. And it's a little bit scary how uncapped every business's revenue is right now. The second resource is information. The right piece of information can move markets. The right piece of information can give you an advantage over the competitors that you've never had. The right piece of information can help you to make an exceptional decision about how your physical resources can be allocated to optimize and maximize everything. The next type of resources is human. So the thing about human resources, it's less about what a person can do. That is because AI is getting so much better in terms of access to knowledge, in terms of pattern recognition, in terms of getting that piece of information that you need to make the right decision. But what is going to be scarce and what is going to be extremely valuable, it's actually these 3 things about people. The first one is attention. If you can't get human attention, you can't get that human to optimize the AI that is working for them, or representing them, or searching for them. You can't get their attention. You can't basically do business with them. So the number one thing around the human that is incredibly valuable capital, do you have the attention of your customers, attention of that segment of the market that you're working with? The next thing is relationships. What kind of relationship do you have with them? Are you building it? Is it evolving? Is it based on what you've done in the past, or is it measured towards the future? The type of relationship you have will also determine the type of the results you can have right now and in the future. So potential and opportunities, it's all around the relationship. And the last thing is trust. You give the machine a criteria, it doesn't have any biases, it makes decisions based on the formula that you've given it. With humans, a little bit different. If you build trust, if the trust is strong, then the human will direct that formula to be based on something else, because we tend to weight trust a little bit more than everything else, partially because of our biases, but also because trust builds over time. And if you have trust, you can generate much better results, much faster, and you can create much bigger impact. And the fourth resource that you have at your fingertips is the systems. Good systems can move businesses very, very far towards results and towards the impact. However, understanding what a system is still a little bit in the past, and also determining what a good system is. So I want to talk about it a little bit, because financial intelligence is heavily based on systems that you deploy to make decisions. There are 3 things that determine the quality of the system. And the first one is the networks. How many elements of the network or nodes within the network can interact at the same time? We've known for the very long time that any business that can tap into the network effects around customers, around business networks, around relationships can do exponentially better with adding one extra market segment or one extra customer type. Immediately, if it is plugged into the already existing network, the ability to grow multiplies enormously. So when we build in systems, one of the criteria is how is that system helping me to build the business network that can multiply my business in so many different ways. The second one is artificial intelligence. The developments are already honestly scary. In a 6 months time, we're going to be in a space where AI can be real time computing what would take a person maybe 3 months time. With AI, it will be almost immediately available. When I'm watching businesses now building their systems, I see a lot of businesses still investing in the old type of things that we used to do in the past. So they're going to be very slow based on the structure that pre-existed and not taking into account how much everything is going to change, because we no longer need a large predetermined preset formulas hard-coded into our systems. AI will be able to look at the patterns and make very quick connections, and not just make connections, but also make those connections in the context of everything else that is going on around the business. But it will only able to do that if you've got your information set up in the way that it's accessible and it's analyzable. The question needs to be asked is how my current systems will allow AI to access all of it, and what am I building today to optimize the system that I already have in place? That is because we actually don't know what things going to look like in 6 months' time. Why? Because if you have AI working on your business right now, the compounding effect will be so grand that it's very hard to predict where it can take your business. But those who are not looking at it right now are going to lose to the competition because of the speed, because anybody who's doing it right now is going to compound the effect, compound the results and impact in a way that those who will start later will not be able to. And the third factor is diversity. Diversity is such an important resource, and I'm talking about it not from the perspective of a certain percentage of women taking part in the decision or a certain percentage of like minorities. I'm talking from the perspective of having access to a number of options, different types of resources on our balance sheet, types of networks, types of people that we deploy in the business in all different ways. Why? Because it gives you many more opportunities. So if you had the same business model for years, it's time to look at it and see how can we diversify what we're doing in the way that we can de-risk the future. Why is that important? Because different types of assets react in a different way to cycles that are happening around the business and within the business. And if you have everything one way, you're just going to follow the cycle. The cycle goes up, you're going to go up, and the cycle goes down, the business is just going to have issues. But if you are clever about diversifying things, you can always manage to ride the wave with the right resources at your fingertips. And why systems are important? Okay, so humans are important not for information that we can hold or how we can analyze information. That advantage has gone. It's more now about attention, relationships, more about communities, more about building the brands that attract people because they resonate at emotional level. So the systems, they should not be based on biases. But if you don't have the diversity of input into those systems, you are likely to end up with the biased decision making anyway. The more AI learns to do things the same way, the more it drifts the same way the human would. If you build a system that has a variety of sources, if you build it on the objective reasoning with the formulas that could be simplified, and if you use the system to optimize for results, for growth, and for the impact, what's going to happen? The systems that you build with the capabilities of AI, are actually going to make the best decisions for you that are simple and elegant based on what you have, based on your physical capital, based on your information, and on the human potential that the business has. So my message today is be aware what kind of capital you have access to and start building on it, and be careful what you're optimizing for. A lot of businesses are still optimizing for activities, so they look at efficiency over effectiveness. Yes, you need both, but it's effectiveness that matters at the end of the day, because we're trying to optimize for impact. We're trying to optimize for results. So if something is effective, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you achieved it. Yes, values are important. You don't want to compromise on your values, but at the end of the day, optimizing for results versus optimizing for activities is a very different thing. The second thing that you should not be optimizing for, it's probably the most common thing to see in any business, is optimizing for cost. So if you're optimizing for cost, you're not optimizing for opportunities, you're not optimizing for results, because very often to make money, you need to spend money. And very often to get results, not very often, every time to get results, you need to apply resources. Time is a resource. The less time you require, the higher is the cost. So most companies decide to invest time instead of investing cost. Right now, with what is happening in AI space, investing time, you actually don't have time because of how fast things are progressing. So look back at your advice, look back at what you're doing in your business, look back at the businesses around you that you are working with. So optimizing for costs right now is the worst possible thing to do. We need to be optimizing for opportunities and reducing time as much as we can. Why? Because of the speed of development, because of the speed with which the cycles can go, because of the speed with which things can change. That brings me to the last thing that companies should not be optimizing for, the historical status quo. So something that worked even a year ago is not going to work the same way in the future. Basically, in the 3 years time from now, the consensus is people who look at the space, who actually understand the way that technology is developing and progressing in what's appearing available to us. Nobody can predict what the world is going to look like by 2030. So right now, the most important thing is to optimize for the results and for the future state where we want to be. So optimizing for where the world is going is probably number one thing that if I were to give an unsolicited advice to anyone, for 24 years, it kept me in the game, and it helped the businesses that I worked with to grow, excel, and create the systems that help the businesses scale. If you optimize for where the world is going, you have a very good chance to get the results you want. But if you also have it as a focus, optimizing for results, AI is going to help you to find the best ways to get there in the most efficient way in the least amount of time. And the impact is the last thing I want to mention, because not enough businesses are optimizing for impact. We can make the world a better place. Each business serves a community, and that community has values. And we are here to, I guess, experience life and business in all its colors. So if the company has a purpose, and if the company is connecting people in a meaningful way and creating an impact in the industry, in society, and within the community of people who work and move this business forward, I think all of that will make the world a better place.
If this helped you see how you deliver value in your business differently, you'll love what's next. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter at impactstrategy.club, and let's build your financial strategy together.